In this video, I'm going to share with you the secret to getting things done when you don't want to get things done. So, for example, what I mean is, let's say maybe you want to start meditating or doing Qigong or working out or exercising or some sort of activity like that, right? But what happens is there's all this resistance. You know, oh, I was gonna go to that class, or I was gonna exercise, or I was gonna practice, but I started doing it. My mind was just saying, oh, I'm so tired. I don't want to do this. I got to do all these other things. I don't have time. So I just didn't do it, and I just don't do it. I don't have time. I can't. My life. I don't really know. So that's a really common thing, which you've probably experienced. I've experienced it loads, and I experience it a lot when talking to people about these things, and these are inevitably the excuses that come up. So what is the secret to overcoming this? Well, the secret is that there isn't a secret, and the secret is that everyone experiences this. Like, you're not special or unique or broken or inadequate because when you want to do something or you try to do something, you meet resistance. This is actually, everyone does it all the time. And that's the real key, is really working on and developing just being okay with the resistance, using the resistance, and just being okay with it. So what do I mean by that? Well, here's a crystal clear example from my own life when I sometimes feel like I don't really want to do things. But now, honestly, to be clear, I've retrained my system so that these things feel good. Like, I can't not do them because it's like eating, it's like breathing, it's like sleeping. It's a natural thing that I just really want to do because it feels good. And not always. Sometimes I want to rest. Sometimes I want to do other things, and I just evaluate in that moment if it's a legitimate thing or if it's just an excuse because I might feel lazy or something. So, okay, back to my point, which is, what do I do and how do I look at it and what is the point of this video? So let's say, all right, I'm gonna train for X amount of time, a couple hours, whatever. I don't really want to. I don't feel like it. Tired. Say, all right, well, maybe you don't feel like doing whatever. But what do you feel like doing? You know, what can you do? What will you do right now to just something that feels good to kind of get started? Well, I don't know. I mean, I could stretch a little bit. Yeah, okay, all right, I'm stretching a little bit. Man, that feels pretty good. What else do I want to do? Well, I kind of want to stretch my back. I'm going to do that. And then eventually saying, well, oh, okay, well, and then following that out, eventually, all this time goes by and I just did this whole stretching routine where I really didn't feel like it in the beginning, but I just started with, well, let's do something. Like, what do I feel? What can I actually do right now? What sounds good? What sounds fun? And then I don't know. Then it ends up being 2 hours, and I did this whole thing, and I didn't even want to do it, but I did it because I didn't resist my resistance. I just acknowledged it as, all right, well, that's cool, and just kept going. Maybe I'm even in the middle of the practice. My mind is like, oh, you got to do all this stuff. I thought you didn't want to do this. I'm just say, oh, yeah, well, whatever. Sure, just keep going. So that might sound like a really generic, simple story, but there's actually some pretty deep points in there and actual lessons. So hopefully I can actually remember what they are. And the first one is that if you say you have to do this big thing, your mind is going to resist it. If you look up at a mountain and say, I have to climb that, your mind's going to be like, ain't no way you're going to climb that. Look at it. It's huge. And you're going to be like, you're right, it is huge. Okay, you're right, I can't do it. I'm just going to go have some croissants and some pastries and espresso, and maybe tomorrow I'll try that. But if you just say, well, I can probably take this step here, yeah, okay, and then I can take the next one, yeah, I can do that. I can at least make it up to that like tree. Oh, that's not a big deal. And then all of a sudden it becomes doable, it becomes easy because of the way in which we're looking at it. So when we tell ourselves, okay, I have to go to the gym 7 days a week, I have to work out for hours, I have to do all this hard, strenuous stuff that I naturally don't want to do. I'm going to make this huge deal in my head, and then I'm never going to do it. But if you break it down and say, well, I can drive there, that's really not a big deal, but I don't feel like driving there. Well, if I'm going to drive there, what if I put on some music that I really like? Well, I really like that music, so I'll get to listen to it, so that sounds cool. And maybe I really, really don't want to do it, so after I get done, I'm going to go buy a kombucha because I like it, and I'm going to buy my favorite flavor, and I'm going to say, you know what, good job. You did this thing, you didn't want to do it, so here's your favorite flavor of kombucha. Enjoy it. Really not that crazy or difficult or challenging. It's just you just do that every day, and then at the end of a month, there you go. And that's a major point there is breaking it down into really simple, easy, and actionable things. Like you might say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book." I don't know how to write a book. A book is huge. It's all these words. Yeah, but you can write a sentence. All right, write a sentence, and then the next one, and then it keeps going. So that's the first major point. The other point is basically treating yourself like the child that you are. Because believe it or not, even though you might be in this grown-up body, this thing we're talking about is a child. This is all of us. So you can see the principles that I outlined in that story of using rewards, using just step-by-step sort of things. Like, okay, well, maybe you don't want to do this whole strenuous thing, but maybe you can just do a little bit of stretching, maybe just do some bouncing or some jumping in place or jumping on a trampoline or some small thing that you can do. And then once you actually get started, then it gets way easier because you're like, all right, well, what do I feel like doing? And then the thing is once we combine these core basic skills, we build a really solid foundation of discipline. And the more we do it, the easier it gets, coincidentally. And if we're doing things that are actually nourishing for our bodies, then our bodies over time are just going to want it. And it's not really going to require really effort. It's just going to be, like I said, breathing, eating, sleeping, drinking water. These are all natural things. And like, for example, I'm drinking tea right now. And I probably drink sometimes like 2 liters of tea a day. Why? I like it. It's really easy to do. It's really not that hard. And sleeping, I really like it. I feel good. So it's not that hard to want to do it. And even over so many years of, eating certain ways, I just don't crave garbage. I don't crave things that aren't actually food and didn't actually come from the earth that like humans should actually eat. Because I get so many questions from people, what should I do about sugar cravings? I heard I should do this cleanse or this fast or this detox and that'll get rid of it. It just takes time and energy and retraining your familiarity. And going to extremes fails. Everyone knows this. Fad diets, fad exercise programs really don't work in terms of creating lasting change. And it's not really realistic. It's marketable, it's profitable, but it doesn't necessarily have the success rate. So it just comes down to basic, simple things that I just outlined. And that's really the point I'm trying to make is if I want something sugary, which I really never do, then I'll eat it. And I won't care because that's what I wanted to do and I did it and end of story. But that rarely ever happens. It's not an issue. And really over time we can start to cultivate these basic faculties and really awaken and develop intelligences within our body that are pretty far beyond what we are conditioned to think is possible and or familiar in our mainstream paradigm. But without going any further than that, I just wanted to share those tips with you, or the secrets with you, and hopefully it's been helpful. And more importantly, hopefully you actually use it, because obviously I know what I'm talking about, because I'm wearing a hoodie in my kitchen and my hair is messed up. And I didn't put any effort into my physical appearance, or in my film situation, or in the editing at all. So clearly I know what I'm talking about. So you should listen. Anyways, yeah. Like the video, share it, subscribe to my channel. I'll talk to you soon.